What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? Today we have some flat earther who's gonna tell us that believing that the earth is a globe is just stupid.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bruce Wright. I'm here to tell you that I'm a flat earther, and I'm going to tell you the truth that anybody who tries to prove that people like me are wrong, the flat earthers are wrong, becomes a flat earther themselves. Because, while it seems like an outrageous conspiracy claim, oh, the earth is flat, oh, you're crazy as hell.
Well, that is because it is crazy to believe that the earth is flat, because all evidence points to the contrary. And I've been doing this for more than a year, and I am not a flat earther yet. I know a lot of you are surprised by that fact, but I'm not, and I never will be. So if this interests you, then please stay tuned. Hey heathens, so today we do have a special guest that's going to be coming on and tackling a couple of the points that this guy has. So you'll know when he busts through the door, okay?
After we've all been just incredibly heavily programmed our entire lives, we believe this thing's right.
By programmed, he just means educated. Yeah, we're just educated. We're not programmed, but, for this guy and most flat earthers, everybody is just programmed to think that the earth is a globe.
But the math and the physics alone prove that it's impossible for the earth to be shaped like a ball.
Not true. All the math and physics and everything like that proves that it is a globe, and they do not, in fact, prove that it is flat. It's actually very much opposite of that.
And there's so many reasons for it. I've written a paper.
Well, he doesn't mean like an actual scientific paper or anything like that. He wrote a blog.
With the math on it. And I approached this by saying, well, I didn't really want to learn everything I needed to know to debate every argument that could possibly come up. Well, what if this is that? What if that's this? And they can drive you crazy like that.
I have to say, this is very, very difficult for me to hear, because I have to be, completely correct on every single point. Otherwise, I get eaten up in the comments. So, it really does bother me that this guy is like, I don't have to learn all of this shit. I don't have to know arguments against every fucking thing out there. I just gotta be ignorant as fuck and just say the earth is flat, and that's all you gotta do. And to be quite honest, that's really all you gotta do. I mean, there are channels out there with hundreds of thousands of subscribers that do that exact fucking thing.
So like a true-false test in high school or college, where they tell you that if any part of a statement is false, it makes the whole thing false. In other words, you might have 7 or 8 statements within a statement. You might have 7 or 8 points that are all true, but there's one that's not true. You got all these true statements, but you got one little part of that statement that is not true. You got to mark it all false, right? Well, that's the way I approach this heliocentrism.
Okay, well, wait a second. That's really fucking vague, isn't it? I mean, I get that you don't think that there are some things that are facts, but just because you disagree with a fact doesn't mean that it's not a fact. Also, it's not like there's one linchpin to the entire thing. I mean, you would have to prove a whole bunch of different things in order to say that the earth is not a globe. You would have to come up with a whole new model of reality to say that the earth is not a globe. So it's not just one thing fails to you and that means it's flat. It means that you don't understand that particular fact, or you don't understand that particular principle completely. That's all that means.
Heliocentrism is the cosmology that we're taught by science as being the way it really is. That the earth is shaped like a ball, and the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles, a little more than 1,000 miles an hour at its equator. Okay, think about that, folks, now. When the fastest plane can only fly about 500 or 600 miles an hour, passenger planes, you take off at the equator, and if you head in the same direction that the ball is spinning, you'll never get where you're going.
No, that's ridiculous. What the fuck are you talking about? The real reason is
on a disc.
Wait a second. Do you guys hear that? Oh shit.
Hey guys, I'm Craig from Fight the Flat Earth. Thanks very much to Godless Engineer for having me on. So, this guy clearly doesn't have the first idea about physics, does he? Listen to this.
When the fastest plane can only fly about 500 or 600 miles an hour, passenger planes, You take off at the equator, and if you head in the same direction that the ball is spinning, you'll never get where you're going.
So he thinks because the Earth is spinning so fast, planes need to go faster to keep up with it. First off, whilst it is true that the land speed at the equator is just over 1,000 miles an hour, that's not how fast it's spinning. The Earth is spinning at 0.069 RPM, or half as fast as the hour hand on your clock, which looks like this. Woo! Better hold on. More importantly, the Earth's atmosphere is spinning with the Earth, and as airplanes need to use our atmosphere to fly, that means at the equator, the airplane will be going 1,000 miles an hour, plus whatever the airspeed of the plane is. Think about it as if you're on a train and you throw a ball forward. That ball is going to be going whatever speed the train is going, plus the speed you're just throwing the ball, but relative to you, it's only going as fast as you've thrown the ball.
You have to wait till the Earth comes back around to where your plane happens to be, and then they could maybe come down and coordinate with a landing as this, woo, oh, come on. It ain't happening, folks.
Do you love his sound effects? Like, woo! I love his sound effects. You got great sound effects, dude.
Earth is not round, it's not spinning. And they also, on top of spinning like this, 1,000 miles an hour around its equator, at the equator, it's also traveling around the sun on this orbital path. And it's traveling 18.51 miles per second on this path, which means it's traveling 66,636 miles an hour. Constantly around the sun, making one trip around the sun every 365.2422 days precisely. And 66,636 miles an hour is actually 10 times faster, at least 10 times faster, than the fastest bullet on Earth. It's more like 20 or 25 times faster than the fastest bullets. But anyway, we're hauling ass, supposedly.
Yes, we are hauling ass around the sun and the sun through the Milky Way galaxy. But just because you can throw out a whole bunch of big numbers here and try to mystify your audience with how fast we're actually moving, it doesn't mean that it's impossible or improbable or that it's not real. These are actual real things. We have been able to prove them in astrophysics and in physics in general. We've been able to prove these things. But what you would have to do is actually prove how we're not. But all I see you doing here is just making wild accusations or just statements of fact.
And then on top of that, the sun is supposed to be traveling about more than half of its diameter every hour as well, which is about close to 500,000 miles an hour. It's traveling. Our sun is traveling 500,000 miles an hour, or somewhere in that ballpark, taking all the planets, the Earth, and everything else with it on its orbit around a central point in our Milky Way galaxy.
Technically, yes. The sun is moving at about 514,000 miles per hour around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. That takes about 230 million years for it to complete one rotation. So how fast the sun is actually moving compared to the size of the Milky Way galaxy, I mean, you have to take that into consideration. I mean, you can't just act like it's moving that fast and we should feel it due to our particular frame of reference, being that we're on the Earth and we have an atmosphere and everything like that. Like, none of this is actually out of the realm of possibility. Like, all of this are just statements of scientific fact that he is brushing off as unscientific. The only thing that's unscientific here is this dumb motherfucker.
Folks, all of this is absolutely false. This ain't happening, all right?
Baseless assertion.
What I found, and look here, I wrote a little paper, and I want y'all to take the time to Google it. Now, by me showing it to you, chance I'm going to screw something up here, but I want you to see, I'm going to turn this around, and this is the article.
Are you seriously turning your camera around to show us a shot of your computer screen right now? Oh, God, no.
That I wrote. It's right here. It's called The Earth is Not a Ball, Stupid. It's on Hub Pages. You Google that title, and I think it's on page 6 now. They buried it back there on page 6, trying to hide it from you.
Nobody's trying to hide your fucking blog article written on hub pages. Nobody's trying to hide it. And actually, page 6 is relatively close. I mean, come on, dude. Nobody's trying to hide your shit. Also, you got it linked in the description. You couldn't just say, hey, go to the description. You don't have to look up your particular article, because I'm fairly certain they're just going to come up with a whole list of fucking articles that say the exact same shit.
But I come down here to this and look at nothing but the math and physics. See this right here, this little Jenna Fredo video. The thing lasts about, I don't know, less than 2 minutes. But what it does is it shows you, let me show you this. You see this little white building?
Uh-oh, guys. He put the shot of his screen down way too quickly. He had to pick it back up in order to show us yet another shot of his computer screen.
Right here, this is the Rogers Center, okay? And this is the vantage point that Jenna Fredo, this little Jenna Fredo, has got her little Nikon P900 camera. She's looking across Lake Ontario from Fort Niagara, New York. She's looking across to the Toronto skyline, which is 30.84 miles away. And you can see the Rogers Center right here. You can see the entire building. It stands 282 feet tall. She's not supposed to, based on Pythagorean theorem and the amount of curvature between 2 points that measures the curvature between any 2 points on a globe or a ball, they're supposed to be close to 600 feet hidden. In other words, it'd be like somebody put a wall up there, about 600 foot tall wall up, about midway between Jenna and that Toronto skyline, and she wouldn't be able to see through that wall, right?
Okay, I don't know what in the fuck he's trying to talk about now, but what I will say is this. He is completely wrong, and that video does not actually show what he is telling us. Okay, so here we have the video and its initial calculation. I don't know if you guys know anything about the particular area that she's in, but she's actually standing in Fort Niagara in New York, and then looking across Lake Ontario to the Toronto skyline. And they're specifically looking at the Rogers Stadium over there. Now, where this particular woman fucks up in her video, and we'll see here in a minute how exactly like that looks on video, but how she fucks up is that when she inputs this stuff into her little calculator there, she neglects the current elevation that she's on. So right here, she has it calculated from 6 foot off of sea level, but in reality, she's about 250 feet off of sea level. The elevation in Fort Niagara is actually 243 feet. So you add 6 foot to that, and some people want to go a little bit higher, considering different elevations at different spots there. But let's just say that it's like 249 feet up that she is, 250. We'll say 250 feet up. And then you calculate that given how far away it is, and you will find that you can see about 20 miles out, and you would have no problem seeing the Toronto skyline, let alone the Rogers Stadium, at least the very top of it. Now, here's the shot where she says that it obviously, you can see the entire skyline or whatnot, and we'll get back to his video where he repeats some bullshit there. But if you will notice in this particular shot of the video in his article, you can tell how the refraction is distorting things right at the surface. So already we have a visual indication of refraction occurring. If you account for the refraction that's right there, right above the surface of the water, what we see of the Toronto skyline is what we should expect to see of the Toronto skyline from Fort Niagara in New York. This is not proof of a flat earth. This is proof of a curve. Like, this is proof of the effects of a curve.
I mean, the curvature would be like the Earth. It would be like a 600-foot tall wall between Jenna and there. From 34.84 miles away, it should be about 600 feet of curvature that's hidden. In other words, she's not supposed to be able to see any building over there in Toronto that's shorter than, say, 500 feet tall. And she can only see like the top. She would only be able to see maybe that needle they've got over there in Toronto, that big space needle they've got there. She won't be able to see the top of that.
Actually, as we could tell from the picture earlier, we should actually be able to see the very tops of all the buildings and, of course, that needle, which is what we actually see. The little space that's between the top of the water and the very tops of those buildings is obviously refraction, as we can tell by the distortion in the image.
Hell, you can see that she sees the entire Rogers Center. She can see the entire building. She sees the entire, Toronto.
you can see the entire Toronto. Okay, I would like for you to take a look at this picture again. Does this look like you can see the entirety of any of the buildings? Can you see the streets? Can you see the street lights? Can you see any fucking thing below the very tops of the buildings? No, you can't, because the curve is in the fucking way.
The skyline, she can see the whole thing. There's no curvature, and they've conducted similar experiments all over the world, and they've never found any curvature. They've never found any water that's convex. The top surface of all large bodies of water is always flat. It's always level. You can put a level across it, and it goes for miles, miles, miles. There's no curvature. It doesn't curve.
Well, obviously, you could take a look at the Lake Pontchartrain images. Those show a curve. But also, Bob from Globebusters himself proved that the Earth does, in fact, spin. Like you were saying before, that the Earth doesn't spin. It does. Bob from Globebusters proved that conclusively, and then Jeranism went and got a laser and a light, and he proved that there actually is curvature. I don't know what you're talking about here, how there's different tests that prove that there's no curvature, because the only things that I have seen from the Flat Earth camp are failed experiments, or just experiments that actually prove that the Earth is a globe. So you will need to give me more evidence of these supposed experiments that actually prove that the Earth is flat, because the one video that you've shown off here doesn't actually prove that the Earth is flat. It actually proves that there is a curve. So again, present your evidence. Present your alternative reality that you're presenting here. My guess is you can't, because like you said earlier, I'm just not going to learn all the different responses to all the great fucking arguments.
That's a lie. It's all been fabricated. And you just think logically, folks. The Earth's surface is supposed to be, the surface of the Earth is supposed to be covered by water, about 70% water, right? Look at all this black on this globe here is supposed to be the water, right? Look at it. Look at all that water. The water's everywhere. And yet they've never found any water that is able to be in a convex shape at the top. Water does not do that. That defies the laws of physics. That's what I'm saying. Stick with nothing but the math and the laws of physics, and you know it can't be a ball. What it really looks like, we don't know. But just start with that. Read my paper. Trust me, folks. Deprogram yourself.
I like how he paints it as, oh, water can't curve. But, you have a big enough object and it can curve. You know why? Because of gravity, motherfucker.
Gravity? There ain't no such thing. They've never proved it. What we think of as gravity, what explains everything that we think of as gravity, is density and buoyancy. In other words, if something's heavier than air, it falls. If something's lighter than air, it rises. Even through water, it'll rise.
Oh God, Fight the Flat Earth, can you please take this? I have to go and get, I don't know, some ibuprofen or something, some aspirin, probably all of it. I'm just going to go OD on painkillers.
The Flirth classic, density and buoyancy. Right, so, if I'm about to drop this ball, you guys say that it's going to fall because of density and buoyancy. So, you mean to say that the air here is less dense than this ball? Right, okay, but isn't the air here also less dense than the ball? And the air here? And the air here? So if I let go of the ball, why doesn't it go up? Or side to side? Or just float there? What actually gives it that vector? That down? I'll give you a hint. The answer is gravity.
That's all from this guy today. Hey, Fight the Flat Earth, I am so glad that you were able to join us today.
So again, thank you to Godless Engineer for having me on his channel. I have recently interviewed someone who used to be a flat earther and has managed to escape out of the rabbit hole. I think it's really important that his story is shared, so if you could go to my channel and have a look at that video, that would be fantastic. And also while you're there, it'd be great if you could subscribe so I can keep fighting the flat earth.
Definitely go and check out that interview that Fight the Flat Earth mentioned, and I guess that I will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.